Hello, my name is Rick. I've been doing AAA for more than 20 years. I was at Crytek. I was their lead programmer, so I suffer CryEngine. Then I teach Unity in the university to my students, so I suffer Unity. Then, of course, since I didn't touch Unreal, I actually work at Smalgate, AAA studio with Unreal, so I suffered Unreal. So after that, I decided to just leave the AAA space and try to do something smaller. For me, smaller is 30-man team, 50-man team, it's pretty small. So I called Juan, and Juan said, hey Juan, I'm building this team that I want to do cRPGs. This is a very complex thing. I don't want to use all those big engines. What do you think? Do you think Godot can handle that? And of course, Juan is Argentinian. Sí, don't worry, yeah, you can go. I wasn't 100% sure. So we decided to do a 6 months stress test of Godot. Basically to build all the complexity of a cRPG. We've seen Godot doing lots of things, tutorials for inventory here and there, but what about everything together? For that, we decided we were playing a very, very dark fantasy tabletop game called Forbidden Lands. It's a Swedish company, everything is dark there. And we decided to just, what if we do transform this into a game and then do a trailer, mocking like if we were doing that for real. And here, Àlex and Roger will tell you how it went.
So for me, basically, October 2022, Rick, my former teacher, now my boss, came up to me and offered me to be a part of his project. He basically wanted to do cRPGs, and I was super excited about it. Lion games are one of my favorite games of all time, so I was cool, yeah, let's do it. And he mentioned that we would be using Godot. At that time, I had no idea what Godot was. I knew it was an engine, but I had no idea. I haven't messed around with it. So just a year ago, this is October 2023, we sat down and we said, okay, let's make this demo. This should be like a AA scope, but let's not get too crazy. We only have 6 months. Let's do like a 5-minute gameplay, just a quick quest, a dialogue and a combat, and that's it. Visually, it should look like the first Baldur's Gate, Pillars of Eternity. Let's not get too crazy. We don't have that much time. In 3 weeks, we had this. So basically, basic camera movement and a party system. So we said, okay, we are moving faster than we expected. And in 5 months, we basically had this. So how did this happen? Most of us didn't have any experience with Godot. We started as a team of 4, and then we scaled up to 10. But we are not special, so how did this happen? We are going to do a quick rundown of our workflows and what worked for us and what did not. So for me, from the technical standpoint, GDScript. We initially picked Godot because of its ability to quickly iterate with GDScript and then move on faster languages like C# or C++. But we started doing things, another system. We ended up with a combat system, AI, inventory, navigation, all the RPG stuff. And everything is in GDScript, and it runs pretty well. On an average computer, it runs under 10 milliseconds on the CPU, so we are super amazed with that. And a cool thing about GDScript that we didn't realize at first is that the whole team gets involved. I remember an artist came up to me one time, Omar, and asked me to do a script to basically do a flicker on the campfires. I sat him down. I explained him how GDScript worked, the documentation, here's the twin, and in 30 minutes he had the script up and running, and from that point onwards he basically did all the small stuff. This creates a super creative environment that it's really fun to work with because everyone is doing everything, and it's kind of the indie fantasy of everyone has ownership all over the game and not just their tiny corner. Performance was really good, but we ran into some problems. We had some brands in the game, and for some reason in one frame, the process time was like 2,000 milliseconds. So we asked ourselves why. I remember I suggested in a meeting that we use the Godot's profiler, and a senior programmer that had worked with Godot before basically laughed at the idea because Godot's profiler is not there yet, so it wasn't really useful for us. But he, Ricard, if you are seeing this, I love you, he implemented Tracy for Godot. Basically, here you can have all the traces and you can pinpoint where the issue was. Basically, at that time, it was an add-on that had reloaded on the process time. But yeah, as Juan mentioned yesterday, the cool thing about Godot is that you can make it your own. So don't be afraid to use plugins, to modify the engine, to use external tools to put into your pipeline to make everything smoother and work for you. And Godot has also really cool internal tools. A major issue for us is that we were quite a few scripters, and in indie games, as you sure know, everything moves really quickly, so we didn't have to do documentation. We are not super pro documentation either, but we needed a way to scripters from jump to script and quickly know what's happening. Auto documentation for Godot solves basically this issue because it removes the need to have an external tool. You can basically document and code at the same time. So I would encourage you to find these tiny tools that didn't seem as a big deal at first, but then they facilitate the pipelines and workflows and help you so much. When you're a bigger team, main breaks a lot, and we cannot waste time blaming each other or finding the commit or what did it break or whatever. You cannot prevent this from happening. This will eventually happen, but what we can do is find these errors before they happen. So to do that, you basically implement a pipeline. This is ours. This runs through every commit that anybody does. And I'll give you a quick rundown. Basically, here we make sure that all the scripts compile, and then we run GT Toolkit. It's an external tool that runs Python. It's super cool. Basically, a linter and formatter. So it unifies the code, makes it seem so it was written for the same person. If something had an error there, it would not go into master. Then we check for dependencies. The cool thing about how Godot saves its scenes is that you can read them from an external program, and then you can check if all the resources are there, if something is broken, before even having to open Godot. Then the structure is really important to have a clean structure, so nobody messes where the texture should be or the meshes should be, then finding a problem, it's a huge mess. And then some R tests. We basically check that the meshes and textures are not too big, nor too small, or textures are in power of 2. Everything is in the correct file format, stuff like that. Then if everything goes right, we run our unit and feature test. Basically, you can here call Godot and open a scene, open a script, and make sure that everything works. One that worked really well for us is that we have a scene that the party had to go from point A to point B. We knew that that took roughly 2 seconds. So if in this commit that took more than 2 seconds, something was wrong. Pathfinding was wrong, the navigation mesh was wrong, something was fucked up. We couldn't push this into master. And then you can do the builds. We did the build for every single commit. And then later you can even export to Steam or itch.io or whatever you want. We are now working on having this pipeline in the engine itself, so it's faster. So yeah, a lot of people ask us, is Godot ready for AA? In our experience, and from the technical standpoint, yes, of course. It worked for us. Right now we're working in another game using roughly the same pipeline and workflows. And this is quite personal, but I think we all share the same feeling. Godot has its strengths, its weaknesses, but they are really fun to play around with. In the sense, it's very transparent. You can identify if something works or doesn't, and you can play around or work around with that. And that creates an environment where time flies by. You are up to 2 a.m. doing a silly thing, but you love it. That creates a creative environment, and not only for you, but for the rest of the team. And that for me is priceless. So if you're wondering if you're a bigger team and you want to do Godot, maybe try AA. I would say go for it. You won't regret it.
November 23, when Ricard called me, and well, back then I was working on a AAA company with a AAA budget, working with Unreal Engine and Houdini. When yes, Ricard called me and explained me her initiative. He explained me what they were trying to do, and this was the first, the current stage of the game, the first time I saw it. He asked me to help them with the art, and I was not really worried about the current stage, because obviously it was the beginning, but what it worried me, it was Godot. Because the notices I had from Godot back then were that it was an engine made for 2D games and mobile games. So, well, I accepted the challenge, and I talked to myself, okay, I will not think about the engine, I will just believe in the pipeline. I will just try to use any excuse in order to push Godot as the maximums, or at least of what we are doing in the big companies. So after, I think it was 3 months, 4 months, we started having amazing results and more things that we expected at the beginning. So we kept pushing until we get something that we were really proud of. And so, well, how we arrived here. Basically, I started as I done in my old company. I take an average asset, and I thought, okay, let's gonna put that on a AAA pipeline. So let's gonna put a triplanner on it. It's Godot able to put a triplanner? Okay. It could, but just in a diffuse map, so not in normal map. So let's gonna develop our own. I get my university notes, how to calculate normal, blah, blah, blah. And in one week, we had a result that it was really exceeding our goals. So we said, okay, let's gonna move on. Next case was a carriage in flames in the middle of nowhere, being attacked by some bandits. So I look into some shaders in YouTube, and I've seen, okay, this is the black node from Unreal Engine. Okay, can we do that on Godot? We look into the black node algorithm. We've seen that from black and white gradient, we can turn that into Kelvin temperatures. We play a little bit with height maps, and well, the result was greater as we expected at the beginning too. So here we start realizing that the main difference between other engines and Godot is the quantity of things that they give us. For example, Unity, a lot of nodes that already do some stuff for you. But in Godot, you need to invest some time creating that stuff. But at the end, you will be able to have the same result. So having that in mind, I just wanted to test myself, just for pure sake of fun. And I decided to go farther than my team expected. Because I remember when I told them that I want explosions in the game. And they said me, no. We're not going to do that because Godot cannot handle physics very well yet. Okay, so let's going to do it how we were doing it in the past. Just some simulation on Blender. Let's going to bake that on the bones, imported it as a skeleton mesh. And yes, I remember that Monday, and I showed it to the team, and they were like, okay, so let's going to put that on the game. So I remember this case. We were end up the production, and this area, it was supposed to be a goddess temple, and it should be a wow moment, and I was not really happy with it. So it was a Friday, and I asked the team, just give me this weekend main, and I will try to do my best in order to have this as I really wanted. I move a lot of meshes to have a good silhouette. I put water shaders, I put light. And I remember that my last thing I was doing in my old company was some post-processing shader. And I thought, let's gonna try if Godot can handle that. I put a plane. I tried to access to the world normal map. Yes, I can access. Can I use that to project images? Yes, I can use that. Can I join that with a sphere mask and the diffuse map? Yes. So just in a weekend, I was able to change a boring scene with a thing that on a Monday meeting, they didn't believe. And it was really, really easy and really fun to iterate to do that. Just the last case. I remember that one of the common concerns that playtesters had when we showed the game, it was at the beginning of the level, it was happening in a windy area, and the trees were not moving at all. So I thought, okay, let's gonna push it just one more time. It will be Godot able to handle my old pipeline that I was doing in the big company, so I could do something in Houdini and put it in Godot. As I can imagine, you know the answer, yes. Godot was able to handle my, I don't know how many channels I have that, but I think it was 6 or 7 channels inside the vertex. I did a complex shader for the vegetation, and Godot was perfectly able to handle that. And in that moment, we knew that Godot was the perfect engine to do what we were trying to do. But after all those strengths, there's things that I was missing. I don't know if you work with the graph editor, but if you work with, you know how messy it could be. I remember a colleague just asked me to change something for the shader, and I said to him, okay, just give me 1 or 2 days because this is really crazy. So if Godot, are you listening to me? Juan, please put some kind of material functions or something to group nodes, because the accessibility of that will make people just be more, it will be more affordable to use. On the other hand, as a real engine user, I'm used to put the complexity shader view, because it's really useful to see how healthy it's your shader. For example, here you can see an example that the white one is a really expensive shader, and the green one, it's almost a color. But having something that you can check if you are being so crazy in a shader, it really helps to maintain the quality, not losing a lot of draw calls wherever you don't want it. Okay, moving on. About Lightning. I remember that when we were doing playtests, a common question came to us. Almost all our playtesters were developers, and when we showed them the game, the question were, with which engine you did that? And me and my team can assure you that when we told them that we did that with Godot, they didn't believe it us at all, at least at the beginning. Because it's true that the first times we were playing with it, it was a little bit messy with the world environment stuff. We need to understand and spend some some weekends and weeks trying to understand which values modifies what. And we discovered that the camera attributes were really important to make right what you did with the world environment stuff. But I don't know if you know this demo, but thank you, Logan and John, because this made the 80% of the light of our game. We downloaded the demo. We analyzed how they were doing this. We just put it in our game. We put the lights where we wanted. We forced the shadows to be wherever we wanted to be. And we changed some colors too. But the tech is there. And then when I show that to other people, it's like, oh, so Godot can handle that kind of things. It's yes. I mean, the question is why you didn't find that. And this is a quick result of having a world environment basic stuff without not spending much time, with 2 weeks of research of how to put lights in Godot. To end up, when we were finishing the production, one of our colleagues made a video in order to hype us a little bit. So I hope you enjoy it.
Exploring the dangerous land that wages a never-ending war. Fight the feared brotherhood of the Every choice will change the fate of the world.
She needs both of us.
Bantu's memory is still in shock.
Fuck off. A goblin, brother.
I was right about you, Luke.
Hero, king, scoundrel, your story, your choice. Fresh take on the grimdark fantasy RPG. Coming soon.
We keep growing, we end up being 10, but now we are growing and doing better stuff with Godot, and obviously having a lot of more fun. So if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer you. I don't know if you have just 3 or 4 times, but if we don't have time, just take us here and we will be glad to answer you. I hope you like it.
Hi, thanks a lot for the talk. I was wondering, since you mentioned the lighting and you put a lot of effort there, did you use a lot of dynamic lighting, or did you bake a lot of lights? Like,
It was dynamic lighting, completely GI, non-baked.
Hi guys, thank you very much for that. That tracing pipeline thing that you showed us with the profiling, is that, I'm assuming that's like in-house. Is there any plan to maybe release that to the community, or is it too specific to your current approaches?
No, it's a fork from Godot, and it's public. It's on GitHub. So yeah, we can make it public. We can share it in our socials if you want. It should work with any game. You would need a lot of RAM, though. That's the only thing.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the great talk. Do you have a solution for the shader complexity debug view?
No, not now. We thought we start thinking about doing at least some shader for the some back shader for the textile density and that, but we end up not doing it at least now. Maybe we will start doing something for the new game that we are doing, but we need to find a way to measure what we are doing.
We came here to ask that you guys do it. So someone, please. Thanks.
Thank you very much.